Hi guys, welcome back to my series on complete guide to Spring Boot and Microservices. So today in this lecture we will be going through the structure of our application, like how to design our application, which files and which packages are to be made where. These all things we will discuss about. So as you can see, I have created this product application. So I have this folder structure src main java, and inside java I have two folders. One is your code folder where you will have your base package and all your subsequent packages and your code. Another one is resources. So inside resources, you will have your application.properties file, which will be the property mentioned into key value pairs, which will be required for an application to run. So, like for example, you want to change the port of the server. So in that case, there is server.port property, and you can provide any port that you want to run your application onto. Similarly, there are multiple properties. We will go through all these sort of properties in the subsequent lectures. But for now, I'm just explaining you what is the structure. And you have this test folder under which you will have all your test files that will run as part of your application. Here we will be using JUnit for running tests and also Mockito framework for mocking purpose. Now, as soon as you create your application, you will get this application class as part of your structure. What is this application class? So this application class consists of a main method where your entire application starts. So if you see inside this main method, it is calling Spring Boot application run method. What it does is as soon as you start your application, it generates all the beans, and the Spring container maintains the life cycle of all those beans. So this is what is part of this run method. And if you see on top of this application class, there is this annotation at the rate Spring Boot application. Now, very commonly asked question in interviews is what all annotations are part of this at the rate Spring Boot application annotation. So these three annotations that I have listed here are actually the part of Spring Boot application annotation. The first one is enable auto configuration annotation. Enable auto configuration, all the dependencies that are listed in your project will be auto configured with your Spring Boot application. Meaning to say, if you see here, there are these external dependencies that were downloaded from the Maven repository to your local M2, and these are the part of your application. So all these will get auto configured with the product application here. For example, like as soon as you have, for example, some kind of REST controller and you return a object, but on the client side on Postman, Swagger, or maybe some sort of UI, you get to see a JSON. So how is this thing happening? This is happening because of auto configuration. Because as part of our dependencies, we have the Jackson dependencies which convert the object to JSON format on its own without us being doing any kind of explicit configuration for that. So this is what, and also like your databases get automatically configured, and rest of the other things like JUnit also gets automatically configured. You need not to make any explicit configuration. So all these things are done by enable auto configuration. Now, what is component scan? So all the beans, all the components, all the stereotype annotations like add the address controller, service repository, all these annotations that are present in your base package get scanned by component scan. And as soon as the Spring Boot application starts, it creates beans of all those annotations and components, which is taken care and managed by the Spring container. So this is the job of component scan. Now the third one is at the rate configuration. So this is mainly for configuration purposes. Now let's move ahead. Let me tell you, in order to perform CRUD operations, which we'll be doing in the hands-on lecture in our next video. So we will create a sort of structure which is generally used in all the projects into IT, in which we actually create different kind of layers to interact between the UI and our server and the database. So suppose you want to perform some kind of, create certain product or get some product. So we'll be creating the REST APIs for that. So where we create the REST APIs, we create it into a controller layer. So what we do is we create a new package, that is the controller package, inside which we create our controller, into which we actually mention all our REST APIs. So I'll just create a product controller class. This is a dummy class, and the next lecture we'll start writing code into this class. And then all your REST APIs are mentioned as part of this controller. The next hierarchy that we have is the service layer. So we'll create a package service which will have all your services as part of it. Services are mainly there to provide the business functionality of any of your requirement. So for example, I name it as product service over here. So we will write all our business functionality as part of this service. Now the next thing is the model. What is a model? Model is nothing but it is the database structure. Your database tables are all part of a model. So inside that we will have, for example, the product model. So into this, we can have a product table which will have all the relevant details. So we'll go through this in the next lecture as well. What will be the part of these details? And the next one is the repository. So we create a repository to interact with our database. So into this, we will actually create a product repository. So this is how our structure is going to look like. All the APIs will be part of product controller, which is part of the controller package. All the business logic will be part of the product service class, which is part of service package. And then all the repositories that we are going to have are going to be the part of repository package. And apart from this, all your tables, all your entities related to your database are going to be the part of your model package. Apart from this, if you're going to provide any kind of beans that are going to be your request that is coming to you, request payload that is coming to you from the front end or the client, in that case, we will have a package beans into which we will have all the beans that are the request and response formats of your endpoints. So suppose, for example, I take here product request bean. So this is going to be our initial structure with which we are going to start. Let's see you in the next lecture. I hope these things are clear to you. We'll have a hands-on experience on creating CRUD operations in the upcoming lectures. Thank you so much for watching. Please do like, share, comment, and subscribe.